there is a very strong capacity of using animation as a language. It's not just a genre. So now you see more often documentaries using animation and creating very interesting experiments in terms of aesthetics.
Can you make a little, I don't know, portrait of the actual situation of animation in Europe? Is it good for now? Is it a good industry? Tell me all about it.
You know, in the audience, there are some of the big players of the animation in Europe, so they should answer, and they may jump in the conference and talk a little bit about their perspective. But there is definitely an increase of territorial opportunities. We see a demand of training initiatives, and they come both at the local level, regionally, by joining forces. I mean, probably France has the most well-known example. Angoulême became, you know, a remote region that didn't have a very strong film identity, became the, you know, the epicenter of animation production in France, and that came through the generation of hubs of training and schools, and of course public incentives that must be stabilized. And this is happening even in countries like Poland. It's happening in places like Latvia. In Italy, we got an increase of producers and professionals working in animation. They moved from less than 1,000 to 5,000 in less than 3 years. These are numbers that are shocking. Now, there is a bubble that we don't want to pop up, but you know, we are aware that the demand of the platforms is very high, and there is a very strong capacity of using animation as a language. It's not just a genre. So now you see more often documentaries using animation and creating very interesting experiments in terms of aesthetics. And of course, I think we all are aware that thanks to the cases of successful stories, the animation is not anymore perceived as cinema or TV for kids, but is really generating massive interest in the adult audience. And teenagers are marrying very strong content as well. So it is in a moment of golden age. You know, the concern is, can we keep the pace of this demand, or are we just training too many people and then at one point the market will be saturated? At the moment, it's still going okay. So we have to look at what are the possible additional sectors where animation can do great work. And here we open the massive, you know, content of education, even medical content and video games for, you know, neurological training and other, you know, segments that maybe we discuss later.
Yeah, sorry. Virginie, I understood that especially in Wallonia, there was like, again, the animation, the industry is rising.
Yes, yes. We receive so much projects right now in animation. To give you some figures, we invest about 1.3 million per year for years in animations. And right now, so in 2023, we invest 3.5 millions, which is more than half of our total budget in Wallimage. So right now we have to be very attentive to keep a right balance between live action and animation, because as we are an economic fund, the animation projects are, of course, very interesting for the industry. So if we have to choose between a live action and an animation project, we are going to choose the animation project, because it is important for a large team of studios. And also, regarding the commercial potential of these projects, the public is large, the audience is international, so it's very interesting for a fund like us. So yes, the increase is very important, and it concerns both the series and the future films in animation.
Carole?
Yeah, I don't know if I can really say anything about the European state of animation in general. It's still such a diverse environment, and I think, I mean, partly it even depends on policy changes sometimes, on how the animation industry is faring in different countries. So it would probably be better to ask someone from the observatory, for example, this sort of more overall question. But what I would say for us applies locally and probably in a lot of other countries too, is that same as for Wallimage. In Luxembourg, the submissions have been consistent, and the studios are faring well. Even though, of course, I know that especially the bigger studios will, for them, it must be difficult considering that energy prices are on the rise, etc. So there's a real challenge to manage the higher cost of living, etc. But having said that, for us at the fund, a few years ago, we also started funding more XR, for example, which also requires the contribution of either animation as a service or a co-production with an animation production company. And so we also actively try to diversify, let's say, the offer that's there on the market, kind of from our side. And like you said, all these various avenues that studios can have, where perhaps they can diversify their stream of income a little bit in case, let's say, the public funding is fluctuating or demand is so large that you may not be so sure that your project will get selected at the next round because it's so competitive. So you do try to strike a balance and make sure that the market has enough, or that your stakeholders have enough avenues that they can rely on, which can include more than just doing the selective projects that come to us. But yeah, again, to get an overall European perspective, it's hard from a national fund's point of view, I think, to comment on that.